Hello and welcome to today's webinar, Control the Chaos with Quest KACE Unified Endpoint Management. This special webinar event is brought to you in partnership with Quest and produced by Actual Tech Media. I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us on today's event. We've got a great event, tons of content, and a live demo, so you're in for a great show. Now, before we get started, just a little bit of housekeeping information that you first need to be aware of. My name is David Davis of Actual Tech Media, and I'm excited to be your moderator on today's webinar. We want this to be an educational event, and we encourage you to use the questions box. That is on the left-hand side of your window, just to the left of the slides window. If you click on the word questions, it's there that you can enter questions for today's Q&A session. We have experts from Quest standing by to answer your questions electronically throughout today's presentation, and we'll be doing a dedicated Q&A session at the end of the presentation. So get your questions in early and we'll be queuing up the best questions for the live session. We also have a number of resources available for download there on the left-hand side of your audience console in the Handouts tab. Make sure that you download those resources now because they won't be readily available after today's webinar. And finally, if you're attending this event live, we'll be announcing the winner of the Amazon $300 gift card at the end of today's presentation, so make sure that you stay tuned for that. If you're watching on demand, I'm sorry, the drawing has already occurred. The prize terms and conditions can be found in the Handouts tab under ATM Prize Terms. And with that, I'm excited to introduce today's expert presenters. They are Mr. James Rico, Field Sales Consultant at Quest, Mr. Kevin Galvin, Senior Product Manager at Quest, and finally, Mr. Jody Evans, Product Manager at Quest. And with that, I'll hand it over to Ken Galvin to tell us about the Quest KACE Unified Endpoint Management Solution. Take it away, Ken.
Hi, everyone. Jody Evans and I are two product managers here in the KACE Unified Endpoint Management team. And we're going to be joined in a bit by James Rico, who will take you through a product demo. And I'm just going to start off by saying, you know, that today IT departments have to manage a wide range of endpoints that are growing like exponentially, from servers to laptops and to bring your own mobile devices and printers and IoT. Each has its specific set of requirements to function securely and effectively. So IT teams face the demand of onboarding endpoints, swiftly and knowing what's happening with the devices at all times and being able to identify and respond quickly to risk vulnerabilities and adhere to all these numerous internal and external compliance requirements. So today we're going to give you information on how to best discover, manage, and secure all your endpoints with KACE Unified Endpoint Management Solutions. Jody and I will start off giving you some high-level information in three parts. Part one will be discovery, part two will be management, and part three will be security. And then after that, we'll introduce James Rico, sales engineer extraordinaire. We'll do a product demo to show you how KACE Unified Endpoint Management security tools work to make life easier, how you can integrate to automate and spend your time managing your business instead of managing your management systems. First, I'll introduce a key trend in the market that's very important to you, and then we'll dive specifically into Unified Endpoint Management and security. First off, what's an endpoint? Well, there's many types of endpoints. An iPhone is an endpoint, a server is an endpoint, Chromebook, battery backup devices or printers, network routers, HVAC system controller, security cameras, refrigerators are an endpoint, and so on and so on. So there are many types of operating systems on those endpoints as well. And there's many different protocols that are used to communicate between systems, and there's tons of applications on all those endpoints. So it's not unusual for a company to have multiple disparate management systems and processes that aren't integrated with one another. And kind of imagine if you're an IT systems admin sitting at your desk with an average of 6 consoles in front of you. All of them have to be purchased separately after researching and comparing the other product and installed, and you have to train everybody on these 6 systems, and then you have to update, maintain them, and when your teammate who's one of these 6 systems experts leaves the company in a year, you up here, or a new person, has to scramble to learn it. And also the data is siloed into 6 different databases. So if I open a support ticket, and you get that ticket and you don't have the information you need unless you ask me, the user, and I may be like as tech savvy as your grandmother, Or, you open up a spreadsheet that lists the devices by user, then you go to somewhere else to see if their computer's under warranty, then you go send a technician to fix it, and he swaps it out for another one and forgets to update the spreadsheet to say that it's in maintenance. We also didn't know yet that we were still paying for on-site maintenance as it sits in the IT shop with a, post-it note on it saying replace hard drive. Of course, that's a different spreadsheet, right? And another system than the mobile device management system sheet. And so you're sitting there at your help desk, typing all this junk into your help desk system. This is how I waste too much time, right? So also, I can't run reports that tell me what I need to load up on my truck on the way to another location. And when I show up to update the software on the server, for example, and I'm asked to look at the laser printer that isn't working and the projector in the CEO's conference room. And if I had known that, I could have loaded up the parts I needed ahead of time. Now I have to go back and get them as more employee productivity is wasted while I'm sitting in traffic with more and more tickets piling up. This is technical IT terms, what is known as a huge suck fest. So what's the better way? Well, when the toner was almost empty, or the roller on the laser printer, or the bulb on the projector was near end of life, I should know that so I can proactively take care of it so that workers can keep working, and so that the projector bulb doesn't burn out during the CEO's big presentation, which becomes a career-affecting incident for you. So I have a bunch of systems and processes that are not integrated, and I'm wasting time and money and stomach lining. You want to do life cycle asset management so that everything's that's something that's on order, whether it's located where, what is in maintenance, what we properly decommission and dispose of old equipment, and so also that your software that you have on your computers that you're paying for but not using, or you want to make sure that all your computers are patched and not vulnerable, and you don't have time to open a spreadsheet over here while looking back and forth between two different computer screens while holding off people with your foot, who are asking you to fix the cup holder on their desktop, right? All while these cyber criminals are fishing for passwords to your infrastructure. So that's why Unified Endpoint Management is so important. And that's why you're so important. Let me start with a little history. Look at wave one on the left-hand side. Not too long ago, there were two distinct types of management systems. Systems that manage traditional, server and client computers, and later on, mobile device management systems. In wave two, we see that we're begin merging the two, so most users can use just one console to manage everything. And then over time, get to the point where everything can be managed using not just one console, but one system. So UEM definitions vary depending on which of those two systems you evolved from. The traditional solution providers like KACE and Microsoft Systems Center Configuration Manager consider Unified Endpoint Management as very deep management, typically with an agent on the computer that gathers data and hands it over to the server in regular intervals. Then you add mobile device management devices into the inventory of the managed devices and view it all on one console. Mobile solution providers, like, for example, Workspace ONE, formerly AirWatch, define it as managing your iOS and Android devices, and then adding typically Windows 10 laptops and managing those laptops the same way you would an iOS device, an iPad or an iPhone. So managing laptops in that way is what the industry calls modern management. But the solutions that start with mobile management and have modern management have some limitations. For example, you won't manage a Windows server with modern management. You can't manage a Linux server. And IoT, like printers, projectors, network equipment, battery backup, HVAC systems, and refrigerator, or Chromebooks, or what about older Windows operating systems like Windows 7, or embedded operating systems that are used in retail point-of-sale machines, or electronic signage, or medical IoT devices. So while they're calling it Unified Endpoint Management, it really isn't. And some of the traditional endpoint management solutions aren't really either.
Yeah, Ken, you're totally on point there. I mean, I think with our definition of unified endpoint management, right, with KACE unified endpoint management, we give you the flexibility you need to manage all your endpoints the way you want to. KACE customers, I think, have the flexibility to manage all of their endpoints together in a variety of ways, and that can include cloud or on-premise, subscription or perpetual licensing, and then, like Ken was just talking about, with modern or traditional management, or a combination of both. There will always, I think, be use cases, though, for both traditional and modern management of computers. And frankly speaking, I think, KACE is heavily advantaged in that respect, right? If all you have is modern device management, like Ken was just talking about, you can't manage all that other stuff, the servers, Linux, older Windows, IoT devices, printers. You get it, right? So that ain't really unified management at that point. And also note that, KACE can integrate seamlessly with like Workspace ONE or Google G Suite for that mobile device management if you need to bring in those that you've already got in place. So the key is customers need everything, all under that classic term, one pane of glass, so they can manage their business instead of managing their management systems.
That's great, Jody. I think, the extend that point is because now with unified endpoint management, in effect, you're going from choosing different endpoint management systems that focus on one endpoint management type or the other, kind of a either or approach. And now you're going to a both and approach where you can manage what you want, the way you want it, and run your reports and do your automation and everything from a single database.
Totally.
So, again, manage what you want, how you want it, and integrate to automate. So in order to do this, you're going to start with discovery. If you don't know what you have, you can't manage it and you can't secure it. So we manage everything we have. We have a large variety of methods that you can use to discover what you have. So you can scan your networks in multiple ways for computers and servers and Chromebooks and printers, network devices, and that ever-growing collection of IoT devices. And you can also do a quick what and where scan or you can go to really extremely detailed scans. And another way, particularly for Chromebook and mobile devices, we integrate with a cloud console like the KACE Mobile Device Management Cloud Console or Workspace ONE or Google G Suite, or connecting to all of your virtual machines through your hypervisor interface. You can even do data import, asset data from a spreadsheet if you need to. Asset management isn't just for IT devices. What about desks and chairs and security badges or trucks, anything? You can't scan your network to discover desks, right? So when James talks about onboarding new employees in a little bit, you're going to see how important inventory integration is to automating as much as possible. And after you discover a device, from there you decide if you want to manage it or not. We'll talk about management a lot more in a sec, but keep in mind that unless you decide to manage a device, you don't consume a license when you do discovery with KACE. Discovery costs you nothing. Until you say, I'm going to manage that device, it doesn't count towards your license count. So you can scan all your networks for free all you want. Why would you do that? Well, part of discovery is discovering what should be on your network. But another part of discovery is discovering anything that should not be there. We'll talk more about that in a couple of minutes when we get into security. But part of your IT hygiene should be running a regular scan of all the IP addresses in your network to see if a device is that is not there, right? A daily discovery scan would have detected that. Raise a notification maybe, and maybe you can even have that alert automatically create a KACE service desk ticket with a high priority, ensure that the right person checks it out, but I'm getting ahead of myself here. So once you discover what you have, you enroll them for management for mobile devices via Apple or Google, similar to how you do your own phone, but with many more options depending on whether your company owns a device or whether it's a personal device that someone's using for work. So think of buying 50 iPads for school, having to automate enrollment with Apple instead of doing it the way you did, one at a time, 50 times. But you can't do that if I'm a teacher who started working from home during the quarantine and I want to use my personal iPad, right? You may have heard it referred to as bring your own device, so BYOD. So you have to have a way where this teacher has to go somewhere online to initiate downloading a profile that allows them to connect to your network and access all that stuff. So if you're using KACE, you'll do most of your stuff all on the main console, but use the KACE Cloud Connector, which not everyone can use, to do all the stuff with Apple or Google or Windows, like enrollment, and also to do the hardcore specific stuff like wipe a lost device or other more granular stuff. The cool thing is we designed this cloud product to work as a standalone as well for customers who don't have mobile device management, but they're completely committed at this moment with another traditional system like maybe Microsoft System Center Configuration Manager, and they invested $1 gazillion and years into it, and they can't just rip and replace it and go right over to KACE for everything. So you can choose to enroll a laptop in a similar way with a mobile connector if you want to use modern management approach I touched on earlier. If it's a computer that you want to manage in the more granular and traditional way, you can provision them from a management, for management usually by putting an agent on it. The agent runs in the background of the computer, and periodically through the day, the case server says, yo, what you got? And the agent gives the update information, all the hardware and software, which we'll talk about during the management section. So here's a list of the methods you can use to discover devices. For illustrative purposes, here's a list of pretty much all the methods that Unified Endpoint Management uses for discovery. From there, you can add to that the cloud-based connectors for iOS and Android or Windows or Mac, and decide how you want to manage what. So, and here are the devices that effectively manage with KACE. So James is going to show you all these methods we use to provide Unified Endpoint Management using different scanning integration techniques in a couple of minutes. So you know what you have now, right? You know what you have. Jody, how and when do we use this flexibility that we have now to do mobile device and modern management and traditional management?
I think first you're let's start at step one, right? You're obviously going to need to set up and configure these devices, right? So for mobile devices, you're going to want to enroll them and then start implementing some policies here, right? And policies configure those devices to either do stuff or not do stuff, right? You can put several profiles on a mobile device there, or policies, I should say, and then some of those could be connectivity related, to set up a VPN, pre-configure Wi-Fi. Others could deploy apps. You get the idea, right? They could also make sure the proper password length is required, any sort of privacy settings or additional restrictions. Restrictions like parental controls for education stuff, right? Or whitelisting or blacklisting apps and things like that. If I work in retail and I need to issue some handheld Android devices to my retail clerks, right, and give them just what they need, instead of restricting access to all websites in general, so they're not binge watching something on Netflix, right, on the company's dime and ignoring their customers, I can kind of put restrictions in place to make sure that they can do their job, but at the same time, kind of keep that stuff off the devices there. So blacklist Netflix, and we're calling it a day, right? Now, between like corporate and personal, there's some nuances there, right? Corporate, you have that much larger degree of control. You can control just about everything on those things, right? And personal, you're working in conjunction with somebody. That's an agreement, right? You can put a policy down there, put some profiles down there, and operate in a segmented way. You can take that stuff off without having to reset or wipe that device. So if they lose their phone, if you still have connectivity to that thing, still connected to the internet, you can take off that VPN, take away access to the company portal, different company apps and things like that. So there's ways to handle that, I think, from a mobile and modern perspective, kind of right there. So if we look back across the fence, back at you, Ken, over there with, traditional management, looking at computers, right, traditional computers and stuff like that, where would you go?
Well, from there, you're talking inventory. Your traditional management's typically going to be agent, but we can go agent or agentlessly with the KACE products. But traditional management's regularly ask each endpoint to send extremely granular information. So both hardware and software. So basic CPU and disk and memory, but also the super granular, which background process they're running, the history of what the user did, when they did what to what machine. Warranty information, encryption status, virtualization information, their location, the last user. Other stuff like, last reboot, drivers, the NICs, do they have an attached monitor, what version of applications are running? It's practically endless. So James won't have enough time to show it all to you, but he'll show you a lot. And we're all talking, all device types, including hypervisors and VMware and Hyper-V. So inventory is not just for, IT asset management, but that is the main thing. So you have the ability to map physical device, a server, to a virtual host, a VMware, Hyper-V, to a guest machine, the web server, file server, and so on, just drill down into them. And then with labeling, we have, gives you the ability to organize your endpoints into groups. So like you say, all Dell Latitude Model 5280 label, then have another label, Windows 7 label, and then have the the Columbus, Ohio office label. And then, each time a computer is inventoried, all these labels are automatically applied. So what? So, you can layer these labels to get extremely granular sets and take action on those. Like install this application or patch on every Dell 5280 with Windows 7 in Columbus, Ohio. Boom. Then the next thing, of course, talking about is patching. Well, we're going to hold off on that when we talk about security. Software asset management, this is real money. Software license compliance has been a long-standing problem for companies, especially if you're using manual processes to track and prove compliance. Whether you're over-purchasing or underutilizing your software, you're placing your organization at risk for audit, potential fines or wasted budget. Fines from Microsoft for license noncompliance can be as high as $150,000. That's per license. There was a survey recently of IT and business executives conducted by Informa Engage that said that 44% of survey respondents said they were concerned about the organization being audited and fined if compliance standards are not met. But also, KACE will show you how much money you're wasting on underused or unused software. We use software metering to a report that basically says, hey, uninstall this Visio program that Dana put on 6 months ago to create a flowchart for a PowerPoint presentation and never used again. So again, real money through avoiding fines and this harvesting. Now with scripting, this is a huge advantage we have over our competition. KACE allows task chaining. So task 1, use wake on LAN at 2 a.m. Wake the computer. Task 2, install the script to remotely rejoin machines to the domain to a specific group of computers using what? A label. And then dashboards. Again, James is going to show you the dashboards for the major function of the SMA. For example, the asset management dashboard tells you at a glance, if you have software running you didn't pay for, if a contract is expiring and so on. And then with reporting, dashboards are high level, but you also can build extremely deep reports. Over 100 reports come out of the box, and you can use them as is, or you can clone and tweak them using our wizard, or you can, using SQL, if you can build your own recurring reports automatically, go to the appropriate person, say via email, and then report all of your computers that are missing in action, or create toner cartridges low report notification that also automatically, creates a service desk ticket that goes to the right tech, to ensure the distracted completion when it's, replaced, so what? So you proactively are keeping employees productive. Then in terms of, the service desk, your service desk is the face of your IT department. So a well-designed, efficient service desk is not a nice to have anymore. It's a must-have. It's a critical component of any IT organization. Service desks have evolved from simply being like an internal ticketing system to strategic tools that integrate the automated workflows. So for like a new hire onboarding workflow or a self-service web portal, a single point of contact for internal and external customer needs. A lot of organizations are going to try to solve this challenge using calendar reminders, relying on email, but that doesn't prioritize a request. It doesn't provide step-by-step accountability or deflect unnecessary requests that can be looked up by the user himself. An unintegrated service desk, prevents full visibility into the hardware and software and user information. So techs end up wasting valuable time using multiple systems, spreadsheets, and processes. So what you really need is a flexible, integrated solution that delivers comprehensive incident management and request fulfillment so you can improve user productivity and satisfaction while reducing your costs and ensuring compliance with your SLAs and positioning IT as a strategic internal business partner, as opposed to a cost center. So in terms of the workflow, think of everything involved when you were hired. How cool would it be to have a new hire template that you can configure to order a new computer or image it with the appropriate software? But at the same time, this onboarding process creates an order for a desk and a chair, and a key card, and a badge picture appointment, with a security department. It also creates another thread to HR to do the tax information, the payroll information, to send you your benefits package, to schedule an onboarding meeting, send you an onboarding email that links to all the stuff you need and so on and so on. You can do all this by having your hiring manager just go to the portal and click process a new hire. So remember, the coolest thing about all this is that it's all integrated. You're not going to 20 different consoles and spreadsheets and emailing and following up at phone calls and yada, yada, yada. And I keep mentioning technicians doing stuff. So now would be a good time to talk to you about our KACE Go application. What if your technicians could take their help desk with them while they're on a remote service call, with users? You could access all the information you need while you're on the road to troubleshoot, an issue, to check warranty status, to order parts, update and close tickets, and check other requests at that location, complete at that location before leaving. So This free KACE Go application will work on your iOS or Android devices, keep your mobile workers productive where they are, and the KACE Go app is designed for the modern day workforce. So your techs have access to the tools they need to be successful as the issues arise, and your IT staff doesn't need to be tied to a desk 24/7 to manage incidents anymore. So in terms of physical security, this is the last part. We talked about discover, manage, and secure. Physical security includes, lost and stolen stuff. So mobile devices that are lost or stolen have an industry standard 7% recovery rate. What's on the device? The CEO's phone is stolen. Oops, we talked about discovery already. So remember, everything and anything that has access to your network is a security vector. Everything that hits your network is a potential security threat. And that's why you discover and manage and secure everything. Mobile device management includes, location tracking and policy enforcement and segregation of your managed or personal data. And you have to be able to secure the device if it gets lost or stolen. And then with computers, do you know what's on your hard drives? If your hard drives are encrypted, Larry the laptop loser works for a government agency with 3 letters and is sitting on a plane having had one too many at the airport bar. All of a sudden says, oops. Or then rogue devices. We talked about discovery. In our little endpoint management world, we often hear the true story of the disgruntled guy who installed a Raspberry Pi in the server room before he was canned from his job. And now he has a backdoor key to the kingdom, right? True story. It also happened at NASA. So I guess it is rocket science. And then patching. This is historically probably the most important reason customers buy our Unified Endpoint Management. There's an article in McAfee, September of 2019, said that cyber attacks have more than doubled this year. Most organizations are in catch-up mode in reducing attack vectors. So cyber attacks aren't caused by a new evil genius's effort. Typically they start with a known exploit for which a patch already exists. Yep. If you're not 100% patched, you're at risk. 1 in 3 breaches are caused by unpatched vulnerabilities. That's what the source for that is ZDNet. With KACE Unified Endpoint Management, you always have an inventory of all your operating systems, your application, your computers, schedule your regular patch and level detection, automatically distribute the right patches where and when they're needed. And meanwhile, you'll spend your time working on projects you want to work on and meeting your business objectives with peace of mind your environment's as secure as possible. Then with vulnerability assessment, we have OVAL and SCAP scans. Use them for reporting remediation of vulnerabilities. So what if you could have access to the database of all known vulnerabilities from the most trusted source in the world, and then regularly scheduled scans automatically isolate and remediate these non-compliant vulnerable computers? Well, UEM automatically loads the latest steps of the set of the vulnerabilities from this response repository, and then runs scheduled assessment reports of endpoint systems so you can remediate the problems on any computer that need them. Some of the stuff you heard today may sound extremely familiar when you're given all the product information and you see James's demo. But I just wanted to kind of ask, you think of ransomware and data breaches, all the stuff that scares both your CEO and you and your admins. These things are probably tops, right, of all the things, and you get it. Think of you at home and you boot up your computer and you see a weird message on the screen that says, we've deleted these 10 files, and then they list the names and tell you they're going to keep deleting them until you pay them some money. So, or you go on Google News and see that your company's data has been breached and all your customers' credit card information is exposed on the darknet. And right now, cyber criminals are taking advantage of people working from home, using their personal computers and mobile devices to access, critical information. And probably they're using their admin account. They may not be properly patched, or they may have Windows 7 or worse. The router login is admin and the password is password. Yeah, right. Or, maybe they're super careful and they change it to password 123. So you don't have to create fear, uncertainty, and doubt anymore. It's there. We have to fix it. So I hope this little intro by Jody and myself was helpful. I think now it's best for us to have the pleasure to introduce James Rico, who is a KACE rock star. I'll let him introduce himself again, but I'll tell you, James is a rare mix of deep technical chops and extremely skill of surfacing what's truly important to his customers, and very chill, friendly guy. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome James Rico.
My name is James Rico, a senior sales engineer with KACE Software. Today I will be showing you how KACE can help you get a handle on all your endpoints, be they Windows, Linux, Mac, Android, iOS, or Chromebook. We can also help you manage SNMP type devices such as printers, routers, switches, and other IoT devices. Specifically today, we'll be covering the following topics: remote provisioning, initial device configuration, remote capabilities, inventory and asset management, software distribution and scripting, security, service desk, and reporting. So let's jump into it. First, we'll start talking about remote provisioning of devices. So there are a number of ways to accomplish that. If it's Android, iOS, Windows, or Mac OS, we can do remote provisioning through various connections with Windows Autopilot, Apple DEP, or Android Zero Touch. Those are connected through the KACE Cloud Mobile Device Manager and will allow you to log into any one of those sites directly. So for Windows, you can log into Windows Autopilot, upload your devices, and when the user logs in, they will get any configuration items that we've built out with KACE Cloud Mobile Device Manager. And the same thing if you're working with a Mac OS device, you can log into the Apple for Business account, enter those devices for Apple DEP, which would, again, when the user logs in and gets access to their device, any of the things you've configured in KACE Cloud Mobile Device Manager will be applied to that endpoint. So if you have people who work from home or working remote due to COVID, you can literally drop ship them a device. They can log in and all their settings and applications, configurations, items that you've set up will apply to that endpoint. So let's take a look at some of the things that we can configure for your devices that will be applied upon logging in. So we're on the libraries page of the KACE Cloud Mobile Device Manager, and we have various items in here, or configuration items that you can set up and can configure for the various operating systems discussed. So accounts are typically going to be set up for mobile devices, so Android, iOS, and that would be the device and the authentication mechanism to log a person in. So if you're using Office 365, you can tie that in, and that would be the primary account for that mobile phone or mobile tablet. Applications are, we tie to the various application stores. So if it's, the Google Play Store or the App Store, you can download, apps from those, make configuration items or changes for those devices, and then tie those to smart labels and push out to endpoints. So we'll talk about smart labels more in a few minutes. From a networking perspective, we can push certificates, VPN settings, Wi-Fi settings. We can enable location tracking for your mobile devices, so Android, iOS, and we can set up various options and restrictions and passcode rules for those devices. So all these items together, these configuration items, will be linked together through smart labels. In turn, will be tied to policies. So a policy, and we have many of them set up here, will allow you to, again, group various configuration items with a certain group of people or devices, however you choose to break that out. And so when the user logs in, those things will apply. And the policies also, from a longer term perspective, will enforce compliance on those devices. So if you set up restrictions and passcode settings and things, not only does that initially provision, but that also will ensure that those things are on that device going forward. So we'll open one up here. I've got a BYOD set up for my MacBook here. So you can see the label is called BYOD Mac. Over here on the left are configuration items I can set up and can be applied to this. So if I click into apps, I can see a list of apps that could be applicable to this. I've already linked some apps here. Under the link banner, they've got the little check mark. So these apps are configured to this policy to push to that device. If I want to, set up location tracking, I've got some configured rules already set for location tracking. And if I wanted to pick one of those, I can link that to the policy also. Same thing with restrictions or, VPN or Wi-Fi. If I can come in here and pick a Wi-Fi setting that I wanted to apply, I can check the box and link that to the policy. So next, let's jump over and take a look at device functionality and commands. So I've clicked on the device tab. And in the center pane, you see all the devices listed. You have the device name, the OS, and the model listed. And then on the left, we have methods to filter. So if you want to find one particular OS or OS version, you could do that. There's various other things you can look for if you want to find your rooted device or devices that are supervised. So there's many different things you can check for. Right now, we really just want to look at the things we can do against devices. So we'll go ahead and pull up an iPad and take a look. So if I pull it up, I can see the devices here. Up at the top, I can lock the device. I can force an inventory. Under more actions, I can do things like clear the passcode, unenroll, factory reset, restart the device. This is an iOS device, so there's a drop down for iOS options. So we have various things. So I can check for an OS update, put it in loss mode. I can wake the device up. Of particular interest to iOS devices, we can also remove the activation lock. So if a device has been tied to somebody's iTunes account, it's a company-owned device, and they quit and they haven't unlocked that device, that could be a problem. So that device is locked out and you really can't do anything with it. Well, with KACE Cloud Mobile Device Manager, you can come in here and hit that setting and be able to unlock that device. So that's a quick overview of our KACE Cloud Mobile Device Manager. In today's world, with a lot of remote workers and stuff, this is a great product to be able to remotely provision devices, set up their initial configuration, and do policy management around those devices. One of the things we also do with this product is for our laptops, so our Windows and Mac OS, we can push our KACE Systems Management Appliance agent, in which we're jumping over to now, and I've got that pulled up. So we can push our agent from our mobile to our traditional management appliance, and this will let you have reporting capabilities, manage service desk tickets and SLAs against an endpoint, do inventory and asset management, do software distribution and scripting. So we'll take a minute and look at some of those things at a high level, and we'll start out with the inventory section. So in here we have a dashboard. So if there's things that you're particularly interested in, you can bring those up on the dashboard. There's additional widgets that you can add or remove and tweak. So if I want to add that, I can hit that, and we've added that at the bottom down here. If I click on devices, this is the tab where I can go and I can see all the devices in my inventory. So be it Windows, Linux, Mac, Android, iOS, SNMP devices, those will all show up and all be available in here for you guys to manage. So again, this is the inventory page, so I can do search up here, a kind of a global search, look for a particular user, particular device type. So one of the things we do with KACE is we have something called Smart Labels. It'll let you do advanced filtering on devices. So I could do something around IP address, system name, what domain it's a part of, what type of device it is. So there's over 200 attributes you can use to filter and sort. And I can stack and add multiple criteria together. And we have various operators in the middle here to, be able to filter and sort on. So you can do contains, begins with, ends with, doesn't equal, equals. So we really give you a lot of options to build filters. So we can very easily target a subset of devices with our smart labels for jobs like pushing software or even building a report or just finding information. We make that very simple and easy to do within KACE. So we'll pull up a device here. So this is one of the devices I enrolled with our KACE Cloud Mobile Device Manager. It's a Windows machine. So we got the system name. And from an asset management perspective, we'll be able to come in here and edit location, who it's assigned to. The device entry type here says agent and agentless. So we are basically, we have our KACE agent on there, and we're also managing it with our mobile device manager. So that's reflected there. This is a VM. We show it's company-owned device. So you can have BYOD devices, company-owned devices, and be able to differentiate between the two. And if we move down here, so the top is summary information. I can see this is Windows 10. If I look at the choose action drop down here, I can see the commands I have. I can run against that device. So be it Mac, iOS, Android, or Windows, you'll have various different commands based on the OS. And then moving down further, we have inventory information, so we can look at hardware specifications. Again, this is a virtual machine, so it'll be slightly different than a physical machine. We can see mobile information. So that's the UUID from the Case Cloud Mobile Device Manager. I can really quickly there see if it's enrolled, if it's compliant. No, there's something that's not compliant about this device. It's not encrypted. If I drop down to operating system, I can see what release we're on, what build we're on. Is it part of a domain? Is it part of a work group? Uptime, when it was installed. Again, drive encryption status, a little more detailed information. This has protection as off. So again, that could be something we filter and sort on. So if you're concerned about devices that are not encrypted, you can easily make a label with that and then remediate that. And if we move down, we can see software that's installed on the endpoint. So we have two views. There's the major version view, and then we have a minor version view. So when you're going to push software out or make sure people are on the correct version of software, we give you that information. Also, if you hit show changes, we can see when things were updated or removed with time and date stamp. And kind of rolling through here, running processes, startup programs, services, you can dive in and see all that. Patches that show up in inventory. Under activities, there's a number of things. Usually people like to see service desk tickets. So if this device is having a problem, I needed to open a ticket, I can do that from here. Or if there's already a ticket associated with this or a number of tickets, I can do that. So if I'm a service desk technician, somebody called into the help desk, I could look up their machine, come down here and see if there's already an open ticket against that device. Maybe they emailed in and created a ticket, but then they turned right around and called you. So that would help you save time in managing this endpoint. Under security, we have various things. So patching, we can do oval scanning, Windows feature update status, so we can push those, and we'll look at that in a little more detail coming forward. Really, the last thing I'd point out on this page is asset information. So I could track information against this device above and beyond things that we can discover from it. So typically, this is things around financial type information. So licensing, when you bought it, if it's retired, when it was retired, if there's a maintenance contract or an extended contract or a lease contract, is there associated peripherals, who you assigned it to, what location you assigned it to. Any of those things could be tagged in the asset section of the device inventory record. And moving along, so we also have a software catalog. So this is something a lot of companies will charge extra for. With KACE, it comes included, no extra charge. And you can find any title in here and quickly see how many devices have it installed. So under the installed column here, this one has 5. If I open that software title up again, I can see there's 5 that have it installed. Some of the things I can do here are I can blacklist that software. I can meter it, which is how often something's being used. This is a free software, so 7-zip is probably not something you care how often it's being used. But if it's something like Visio, that's kind of one-off title somebody requested, you want to make sure somebody who requested is actually using it, and then actually to take that a step further, KACE can automatically uninstall that and reclaim that license for you. So if somebody needs a software for a short period of time but doesn't use it moving forward, we can automatically detect that, pull it back, and free up that software license. I can also in here track licensing. So if I buy new seats or additional seats of a software title, I can track that in and the purchase information around that. If I wanted to make this software available and push it out, I can actually do that here. So there's some software that's going to be available in like the Windows Store or the App Store for Apple. There's other software that's only available from the web, like you go download it, configure it, and this would be a place where you could upload that and then push it out to machines. And one of the nice things KACE can do is, again, ensure compliancy. So if you build a software package in here, KACE will make sure that is maintained on those endpoints and is always there and up and running. And moving right along, we'll look at asset management directly related to inventory. Again, it's kind of the more of the financial aspect of device management. So there's a whole section on that. There's a dashboard just for that. Two of my favorite are the widgets on here are the cost of unused licensing. So if you have too many seats and not enough deployed, like you own too many, that's money sitting on the table. So it's good to be aware of those situations. And also if you are over provisioned, you want to know that in case there's a compliance audit, you don't get caught short and have to pay fines and fees on top of getting squared away with the licensing. So those are two of my favorite. As far as things you can track in KACE around assets, really it's anything. So we like to tell folks, hey, if you have things on a spreadsheet that you're tracking currently, you can do a direct import. There's an import tab over here, and you can track things. So a few benefits that are, sometimes people will track stuff on a spreadsheet, then they change employment or leave, and then we lose track of those things that they had. We lose that list. The other thing is KACE can have multiple users in here, so you can pull all your people in, be a technician or just users, and assets can be assigned to various things. Different things you're tracking can be in here, and it doesn't have to be IT. So one of the things I created here was a multimedia cart. Some people have that, or security cameras. So we give you the capability of creating other asset types. I've had people do track vehicles, handheld radios, for the medical industry, just medical equipment that's attached to a computing device. So you really can't query that piece of lab equipment, but you could create an asset record. We have a mobile app called the KACE Go app, so you can scan a barcode and pull information up. And that could be, maybe it is tied to a workstation. So if you want to be able to easily sort and filter on that, you can. But some of the most important things that people like to look at under asset management is license compliance. Again, you can here's one place to go and look at a software title, see how many you have installed, how many seats you own, and see the plus or minus the variance of that. So, and this can be adjusted. There's 32 titles on this page. People typically just display things that you can get an audit on. So Office is a common one. Here's Office for Mac. I've got 2 installed. I own 2 seats. I could even look at from a OS perspective. So if I want to type in servers or server here, I can pull up Windows Server and I can see how many of each kind I have installed. If I had a SQL server, I could pull that stuff up also. It's one place to go to and find information, and I can actually come right in here and export any of this information right from this page. So if it is a situation where you have an audit, you can get to that information quickly, export it, give it to the people that matter, and move on down the road and save yourself time during your day. Under distribution, so if we want to push out software, we can definitely do that. So on this page, you can configure this to work for Linux, Windows, and Mac. And again, it'll maintain that baseline software on those endpoints. So if you build a package of software here and push it out, it's going to be maintained on those endpoints. Some ancillary things underneath here, we have file synchronizations. You just want to push out files or pre-stage, you can do that, and you can be very selective in which machines get that. We can do wake on LAN. If you have remote sites, we can set machines up to be replicators. We have task chaining, so maybe you want to run a script or a wake on LAN schedule, and then you want to run a patch job. Task chain will allow you to do that. Scripting is a neat section here. It actually can do multiple things. So there's some built-in wizards under configuration policy. So if you want to do a software uninstall, there's a wizard to run in there, pick the software, and we'll build the script for you automatically. It's under configuration profiles. You can also upload any scripts you currently use to remediate issues. So maybe you have a PowerShell script that cleans up Windows temp files and does some other things to just clean up and refresh an endpoint. Well, you can load that into KACE, and then anybody who has permissions can log in here and then pick a device and run that script against it. So it makes a central repository or library for any scripts you have. And there's also a wizard in here where you can create scripts, kind of fill in the blank, pick the OS, have it look for a condition, and then do something after that condition. So very good, very powerful. You can do things at a very granular level, but you don't really have to know a scripting language to make it work. And then next, if we look at security, so we can do full-on patch management for Windows, Mac devices, and third-party applications. KACE acts as a single repository for all your patches, so they'll download here, and you can determine what gets pushed out to your endpoints. So we're going to look at the patch catalog real quick. So here's a listing of all the patches that are applicable to devices in my inventory and their applications, and what I've subscribed to as a user. So you guys can subscribe to the things you want to get. KACE will scan your endpoints, and this is the nexus of those three things. We'll show you, like each line here is a patch. You can see when it was released, who the publisher is it an upgrade, a security update, or update roll-up? You can see what it is. Is it critical, recommended, important, low priority? You can see all those statuses. Does it need a reboot or not? Compliance is one of the things I like best here. It can show you how compliant you are on a per patch basis across your environment. So if you have, the next Spectre meltdown that comes out, and typically Microsoft or whoever will release a KB article that says, hey, if you have this KB number, this will remediate that problem. Well, in KACE, you can drop that KB number right in the search box and instantly know if you're compliant or not. And if you're not, you could push that patch out. So information is readily available about on the device level, on the patch level, and when we look at reporting, you can see information kind of on the global level against your devices. And then the catalog is what kind of patches you push out, and then we have schedules that will allow you to determine exactly when and how patching gets applied in your environment, how it interacts with the user. It can be silent. It could be give them a little pop-up window so you can notify the user. You can control if they have an option to snooze or not. So maybe you want to, maybe it's laptop users you don't know, they're working from home, you don't know when they're going to be on or off their laptop. So if you run a schedule against those group of machines, you want to give them the option to hit OK and let it run, or maybe you want to let them snooze, and you can determine the amount of time that happens. So you can create as many schedules as you like, point them at different groups of machines. And KACE is also smart enough to, when you set this up and run it, if a machine is offline, it can remember that and know it, and the next time that machine comes online, it can run that last job it missed and get it caught up. So it really helps your machine stay in compliance. And really the beauty of this thing is it's automated. So you build these schedules, you set your criteria, and it's going to be on autopilot. So really at that point, you're just going to be looking at reporting to make sure things happen. There's no hiccup. Sometimes you'll get a patch that may not be compatible with something. That's the kind of things you'll look at. You won't have to spend hours and hours making sure your things get patched. And again, that covers Windows, Mac, and the third-party applications. Windows feature update is also a part of the security portion of the product. It's just what it sounds like. If you want to update your Windows features, say from 1903 to 1909 or to 2004, you can do that. We give you a very simple, straightforward way to do that. It's with a schedule. It looks just like our patch schedule. So in here, you can name a job. So I just call this test machine update. Under actions, you can just scan and see where they're at. You can scan and pre-stage. So if you have a low bandwidth site, maybe you want to detect and stage it and get it ready, or you can just run it and deploy it. And you can target a group of machines. So if you have want to do one office at a time or one group of machines at a time, you can do that here with a device label. So I can pick a group of machines. So here's my test group. If I want to do those, I can drop that in there, and that's the group that would get patched. I don't want to change my schedule, so I'll cancel that. Under devices, I can also just pick one or two devices, maybe just test the waters, make sure it's going to work fine. There's going to be no hiccups. I can do that. And then I can, down here, pick which feature I want to push. The last time I ran that, I pushed to 1909. Probably next time I'll go ahead and hit the 2004. I can save, and this is going to, run when I set it up to run. I can do a run now, and again, automate that process. KACE also has some vulnerability scanning built in, so I can do oval or SCAP scans and be able to see where we're at on a device as far as vulnerabilities. And then the information typically in those also links to the CVE number, and usually you can see in their KB number. So typically what we see, if people are doing the other things in KACE, like the patching and the feature updates, the oval scan results are smaller than if you weren't doing those things to keep things up to date. So really, we give you a good place to come in here and help keep your endpoints secure. And then finally, we'll look at two things here left. We'll look at the service desk, and then we'll look at reporting, and then we'll wrap up for the day. So our service desk is a full-on service desk, a customizable dashboard. Each technician can log in here and create their own dashboard. So the things they'd like to see, they can see. A couple benefits with KACE and its service desk. There are unlimited technicians and unlimited queues. So I can come in here and set up various queues and departments for managing tickets and SLAs. So different teams can use it. So typically everybody has a help desk queue. That's a standard one. But you can also have an HR queue or facilities queue. So if somebody had a payroll problem, they could open a ticket and the payroll team could work that ticket. And if you had you know, a facilities type issue, that can be managed also. So you can set up as many queues as you like. Some things that KACE allows you to do is for each queue, you can configure different types of tickets. So if it's an incident or a change request, maybe you have a ticket template for people want to check out equipment for temporarily. So maybe, you know, or reserve a room for something. You can have ticket templates for that. We also provide automation. So that is done through our ticket templates. So it kind of ties into the laying out the fields. So I can come in here and I can build out various fields. So this is my help desk queue. I can see at the top here. I've got different categories of tickets that can be created. Various statuses. So it's open, close, in progress, waiting for information. So there's various statuses a ticket can be. I can set up priorities. So high, medium, low. How many people does it affect? And then I can define the fields down here under default layout and ticket fields. They're going to be a part of that ticket. So kind of from a setup perspective, I can customize this any way I want. I can have all the fields in here that are relevant to my organization, relevant to this queue, and build out those different templates. Well, sometimes there are things that are kind of complex in nature, multi-step issues that need to be resolved. Change management might be one. I got one here set up for new hire. So if we hire somebody new, there's typically multiple kind of steps. So this will allow you to automate that process and make sure you have repeatable outcomes each time somebody does a specific process here. So if you hire somebody, you want X, Y, Z to happen in a specific order, and we can help you manage that. We do that with parent-child tickets as part of a process. I've got a few set up here. You can notice the stage column here. I got stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. And these can open up in different queues. So we got different people involved when you hire somebody, IT department, the HR department, the facilities department, and each of these steps can have a specific set of instructions. So all the stage 1 tickets open up, the people do the work, get those things done, they're closed, and stage 2 tickets can open up. And we can also build in approvers in here. So maybe you want somebody to sign off on or approve a process before it gets completed. Again, you can build that in. We pull all your people in here. You can say, okay, I want one of these three people to approve this before we proceed. So you can build that in as part of the automation process. So a lot to go through here. We could spend lots of time on service desk, really just trying to give you guys a high-level overview today. Again, very customizable, easy to manage, and really will help you manage your end users' requests, service requests around the devices that you're managing with the KACE Systems Management Appliance. One thing I would like to call out real briefly, I'm going to jump over to the user console. Part of this is of KACE, you also have a portal where end users can go for self-service. So if they need to open a ticket under quick actions here, they can do that. You can build out a software catalog so they can go and grab software they might need. They can see any open tickets they have. You can set up announcements, alerts. So I've got one up here for the phone systems down, or maybe it's a long weekend and you want people to close out of the systems for an update. You can do some alerting around that. And then there's standard announcements here, work from home tips. So again, this whole page is customizable for your user. You can customize the logo to match your companies. And your user can come in here, open a ticket, fill in the fields that you prescribe. And so, sometimes people like just to send an email, but you might not get all the information. You spend a lot of time going back and forth. Or if you can direct them to here, they could open up that ticket, fill in the information, select things out of the drop down and really speed up that process. Let's go back over to the administrator portal. And just going to really wrap up here on the reporting module. So of all the things we looked at today, All those are available as part of the reporting module. There's approximately 200 built-in reports, and there are in different categories. So you can find the ones you want. If you want to report around patching, you can click View by Patching, and then we have a number of built-in reports. There's various formatting types over here on the right. You can see there's a little alarm clock on the left. So if I wanted to schedule I like this patch report and I want to see it every time patching is complete, I can schedule a report and have it show up in my inbox. We can also do things around in notifications and reporting. So you can specify certain criteria, and if that occurs on an endpoint, you can get alerted. So it can, maybe once a week you want to see machines that are running out of disk space. KACE can set that up as a notification, run that scan once a week, and then email you or automatically open up a service desk ticket with a list of those machines in it. So everything we do in KACE, you can report or create notifications around to really help you guys stay on top of your devices and your endpoint. So I really appreciate your time today. If you have any questions, we're happy to answer them now, and appreciate your time.
All right, great presentation. Thank you so much, Jody, James, and Ken. Really cool stuff. We've got tons of questions coming in. We've been doing our best to answer those electronically. It looks like we've run out of time for our in-person live Q&A session, but all the experts from Quest are answering these questions as quickly as they can. If we aren't able to get to these on the event today, we'll get back to you after the event. I want to call your attention to the poll question on the screen. What additional information would you like about the Quest solution? And I'll just leave that up here while I announce the winner of our Amazon $300 gift card. So let's see, that gift card is going out to one lucky winner on today's live event. That is Aaron Walrath from California. Congratulations, Aaron Walrath from California. We'll reach out to you to deliver that gift card. If you're watching this on demand, I'm sorry the drawing has already occurred. If you didn't win on today's live event, you'll be redirected to our event site after this, and we've got a ton of upcoming other events if you're interested in that, including a big event coming up tomorrow. So make sure you stay tuned. And before you go, I want to remind you to check out the handouts that are available there for download in the audience console, specifically the ebook on understanding Unified Endpoint Management. Also, of course, visit quest.com and you can sign up for a trial of the Quest KACE solution. All right. Thank you, everyone who answered the poll. If you didn't answer the poll question, of course, we appreciate your answer to that. I'll leave that up for just a few more seconds here. Again, the prize winner was Aaron Walrath of California, for any of you who missed that announcement. All right, thank you everyone who joined today's Quest webinar. I learned a lot. I hope you learned a lot as well, and I hope you have a great day. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.